Good morning, everyone. It's Wednesday. It's the start of my week, and I had a terrible night's sleep last night. This is obviously something that I'm going to have to get used to, but I remember my old job, my 9 to 5, how I could just cruise under the radar if I'd had a bad night or I wasn't feeling great. But now that it's my own business and so much more is riding on it, now it's, well, too bad. Suck it up, get going. It now seems unreasonable to work at 50% pace just because I had a bad night. I need to get stuff done. And there's no one else who can get it done but me. And obviously, this is not me whinging. I'm totally okay with it. But I'm really gonna have to get my head around this change, this perception that now work is no longer something that I have to do because someone's telling me to do it. It's something that I want to do because I want to do it. I've got the first glue up in clamps. I did all the boards together. Kinda regretting that because there's gonna be a fair bit of sanding to work back some of the ridges. It's not bad, but just with the glue, it made keeping these flat with the coils a little bit tricky. So for the next glue up, I'm gonna do it in stages. So these two boards, then I'll add then I'll probably do another 2 or 3 boards and glue those together, and I think that's gonna make it easier. But I've just been having endless issues with my jointer. Well, no, endless is probably an exaggeration, but it's still getting a bit of a convex curve to it, which I don't want. And I feel like all I ever do with this jointer and my old jointer is bloody fight with the accuracy. So I'm taking a break. I'm gonna paint these logs and then start cutting them up with a chainsaw. If you hadn't worked out already, it is hot in Townsville. First glue up done, second glue up basically done. From here, the next step is going to be to cut these down to 600 mil. So I'm taking off about 50 mil. You can probably use that later on in the project. Same thing again there. So I'll leave these now to dry overnight and then come back in the morning, and then we can think about cutting them to size. Speaking of cutting to size, I bought this very long, well, I mean it's long for my workshop because I don't even have the ceiling height for that, 2.4 meter straight edge. So this is actually going to do 2 things. For starters, it's going to cut this, do this long rip cut to bring this down to 600. So I can do that for both of the panels. And the other thing that I got for today is this jointer issue that I've been having. Now with that full length straight edge, now I can properly make sure that my tables are correct. And straight away I can see where the issue is. If you look along that shadow line, as we get to this point, it closes up. So clearly this infeed table, this end, is slightly raised. I've been trying to use this level, which is about 1.2 meters. It's just not long enough to do the full length. And yeah, so hopefully this is gonna help out. I got these panels out of the clamps this morning, and yesterday when I glued them up, the jointed edges were, they had that big curve in it, and I went into detail on my Instagram story, and I was a little bit worried that when I took the clamps off this morning they were all going to pop open, but they haven't. They've held together strong. I've been able to basically manhandle them and they're fine, so I'm not too concerned. So now today's job is cutting these to size. I've cut this little piece off using the straight edge, and it's attached at this end and at this end. The straight edge is just too short. That's right, I can just cut this off. Whoa, shit. Camera's just gone flying. For the cross cuts of this panel, I'm making this, what would you call it? Track saw kind of jig, which I've used 1,000 times. Every time I make it, it gets slightly more refined. I've glued this piece slightly further back than the plate of my circular saw. So once that's glued up, I'll then come along, put the circular saw on and run it through, and then it will cut this little strip off here. And that will be the piece that I then line up with my pencil line on the panel. It's a great little track saw. Obviously the only problem is that your saw can shift in that direction, so it's not holding it tight. But in a scenario like this where you're cutting the piece off, they work perfect. Righto, that is panel numero uno. This was pretty tricky, obviously, with the circular saw and measuring and guides and all that. But now the real challenge is making panel number 2 exactly the same size as this. Oh man, I need to get myself a table saw, or even better, a panel saw. Question for all the other full-time woodworkers out there: do you find that you just don't get enough done in the day? I feel like I'm working really slowly, and I don't know if it's just me. To be fair, I only work 3 days a week, so I don't have a full week. And of those 3 days, I only get to work from about 9:30 till about 2:33. So they're pretty much half days, because then I got to go fetch my daughter from school. So they are very short days, but I just feel like I'm getting so little done in my very short week that it's really frustrating me. Today I've done a grand total of get one of the side panels out of the clamps and cut it to size, and that's pretty much it. And my fear is if I keep working at this pace, I'm never going to be profitable, because I'm turning work around so slowly that my hourly, or what I'm expecting to charge, my hourly rate, it's never going to work out, because I'm spending so much longer on everything. And just in a sort of a net goal, from a net goal perspective, I'm going to be bringing in so little, because I'm only working such a short amount of time, that it just feels like this is never going to be profitable. So now it's time for a lot of that. Going 80 grit to start. It's going to be to obviously smoothing everything off, and also just bring down some of the edges. Something to keep in mind is that this is going to be an enclosure for reptiles. So it's not something that needs to be polished up to 1200 grit. So I think I'm probably actually going to do 80, 120, and then stop there. It'll get oiled after that. And I think that'll be fine. I might go up to 180. I'll see what it looks like afterwards, but it won't go past that. I'm on my way up to fetch my daughter from school now. It's just a quick walk around the block. And ever since I started doing this thing where I wear the same clothes every day, well, same style, same shorts, same shirt, what I've noticed is I've become less and less conscious of them being dirty. So I often find myself standing outside of school waiting for and I look down and I'm just covered in sawdust, and I'm just dirty, and I've got paint on my pants, and these are the same pants that I wear every day. But it's kind of freeing in that I don't worry about it, but to onlookers, they must think that this guy just never showers.
Hey mate.
Hello. What's going on? Morning everybody, it is Sunday today, and on my agenda is to get the trailer out. I'm heading out to buy some framing material to start work on the corner office that's going to go in that space. I'm super excited about this. I think it's going to be a good video as well, because it's a transformation of a space, which always does well. It's also a slightly interesting project. It's a small space to turn into an office, so that I think it's going to appeal to some people. But more than that, I'm just excited to have my own office space. It's gonna be dedicated to voiceover work, so it will be acoustically treated, and it's gonna be Dad's office, that's it. So I'm really excited to have my own personal space. I need to get a carport for this trailer. I'm also going to be doing some sanding today, getting this epoxy down and leveling off these panels. The panels are now cut to size. Now it's just about getting them flat. So there's a lot of just very boring sanding in here, which I need to get through today.